This program starts now.
Hello everyone, this is Poonam Mehta. A warm welcome once again to Hyderabad Runners weekly webinar series Beyond the Track. We hope you are taking all measures to stay safe and healthy. In our endeavor to keep you constantly aware and educated, we bring you Beyond the Webinar Track, a 1-hour live webinar series of conversations with some of the highly distinguished experts from running and sports field to help you all equip with both theoretical knowledge and practical training. In this 25th Silver Jubilee episode of Beyond the Track, we are honored to connect you to Zia Cheney. Our guest this week, Zia Cheney's running story has adversities all over it. Hers is a unique fitness journey full of grit, determination, courage, and heart-tugging emotion. An ardent supporter of the Cancer Foundation runs in the city, Hyderabad Runners is proud to host Zia in our webinar this week. We also have with us Dr. Krishna, an active member of Hyderabad Runners, interacting with our guest and facilitating today's session. Dr. Krishna Mohan is a medical oncologist at Indo-American Cancer Hospital and a runner by passion. He trains with HR KBR Park Group. He has been associated with Hyderabad Runners for the past 5 years. He had run a handful of half marathons and 4 full marathons, had volunteered at training runs and at Hyderabad Marathon in the past. As we endeavor to create a smooth learning experience for all of you, continue to post your questions for Zia in the comment section. Before we invite Dr. Krishna to introduce and welcome Zia, we would like to welcome Dr. Chinna Babu, a surgical oncologist and founder of Grace Cancer Foundation, to share a few thoughts. October being a Cancer Awareness Month, Grace Cancer Foundation has conducted a virtual cancer run globally. And today, let's welcome Dr. Chinna Babu to share his thoughts today. And over to you, Dr. Chinna Babu.
Thank you, Poonam, for this opportunity. And I'm really proud and really privileged today to be in your midst and to share what has been done today and our partnership with Hyderabad Runners. So before I go any further, let me congratulate Zia for the kind of journey she has underwent and the way she's beyond a conqueror. So once again, my congratulations to Zia for the way you have fought this disease and shown as an example to everyone here. So Grace Cancer Foundation is an NGO which is having a vision of alleviating the cancer burden in the society. So as part of achieving this mission, we have been associated with Hyderabad Runners for the last 3 years in doing the Grace Cancer Run. And today we have had a global Grace Cancer Run, the 3rd edition, which is virtual because of the COVID times. And let me share the news that we have had participants from more than 115 nations and with more than 100,000 registrations for this event. So this is a overwhelming response because we strongly believe that a healthy lifestyle, physical activity is one of the strong means to prevent cancer. And even as we deal with this, I'm really glad that we are partnering with Hyderabad Runners in taking this mission across not only Hyderabad, but across the globe. So once again, my special thanks to Hyderabad Runners for having mentored us, for having taken us through this journey of running for a cause, and also to promote physical activity as means of preventing cancer. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Poonam, for your kind introduction. And thank you, Dr. Chinnababu, for being associated with Hyderabad Runners. And hello, everybody. And I hope all of you are set for today's Beyond the Track webinar. So as Poonam was mentioning, today's webinar is a very special one for two special reasons. The first one is that this is our Silver Jubilee webinar, which means that several good things have happened till now. And of course, many more are to follow. It is special again because in this October month, which is observed globally as a breast cancer awareness month, we have the best possible guest with us who has won over the disease, not once, but twice. And more importantly, the one who chose to celebrate her life with running. You just imagine what best can be other way of celebrating this life. Yes, we have today with us Zia Cheney from Pune. She is a runner par excellence and an epitome of courage and determination. Friends, as an oncologist, I know what the word cancer can do to weak minds. So to win over it and finish marathons again and again with a smile is like achieving podium finish again and again. Yes, Zia has set an example as to how tough a mind can, how a tough mind can get over the bodily ailments and then achieve what many people think is impossible. She has lived by example. She has run with passion. She has run many marathons in India, and she has been training constantly and consistently to reach to a point where each one of us, each one of the passionate runners dream of achieving, that is being a Boston qualifier. Yes, she had qualified for Boston Marathon with a fabulous 3:47 full marathon. So guys, without much delay, let us welcome and listen to Zia. Zia, we welcome you. Thank you for accepting to speak here today. Runners around the world are waiting to listen to you and learn from your experiences on the track, off the track, and beyond the track. Over to you, Zia.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Krishna, for the lovely introduction. Hello, everyone. I'm honored to have a chance to share my story with you. But at the outset, I want to say that I'm no hero. I'm just somebody who was put in a difficult situation, and I tried my best to deal with it the best I could. I owe a big thanks for the tremendous support I got from my doctors, from my family, my close friends, and my running friends. So without them, I wouldn't have been able to accomplish all that I have. So the credit goes to all of them rather than to me. My first encounter, let me tell you, this is obviously, it's a slightly long story. It starts 10 years ago. And my first encounter with breast cancer was in 2010. I was very young. I was only 39 years old, a mother of two young girls, very healthy. I've always stayed fit, no bad habits. And, I was very surprised that when I did find lumps in my breast, I was taken by surprise, but I didn't waste any time. And I went and saw my doctor very soon after that. But, within like 2 or 3 days, I found myself sitting in front of my oncosurgeon, a cancer specialist in Pune, who told me that I had early stage breast cancer and that we would have to treat it immediately without delay. So you can just imagine what a shock it was for me and obviously for the rest of my family. I didn't know, how to process this news. I was like, I had all these questions of, is this really happening? Is this a dream? Am I going to come out of it? Am I going to die? What's going to happen to my children? So my mind was in a lot of turmoil. But my husband and I pulled ourselves together very quickly without delay and took action. We went and saw a couple more doctors in Mumbai and in Pune, and they all concurred with my Pune doctor about the kind of treatment I would have to undergo, which was a surgery, which we did very soon after knowing. And then I was told that I would have to undergo chemo. Now, chemo is it's the dreaded word with cancer, right? I was not that nervous about the surgery as I was having to undergo chemo. I had only 4 rounds of chemo, but I had researched and read so much about it that I was really scared and petrified to face it. The side effects, I'm sure a lot of people know, there is, those 4 rounds of chemo really took their toll on me. But I managed to overcome them with as much as, with a lot of support and keeping myself hydrated, eating well, taking the rest, all the necessary precautions. The side effects was loss of appetite. And as you can see, there's a picture of me with a bald head, which of course I really enjoyed. That was probably the only best part in the whole treatment. So loss of appetite, loss of taste. I had acute fatigue for 2 to 3 days where I couldn't get myself out of bed. And, these were expected, but we managed. The first chemo obviously was tough. And then by the second one, I got better at it and I knew how to handle it and knew what to expect. So it got a little easier on me. I was also a teacher for many years. I taught English at a school. And I thought I would be able to teach through the chemo, but I was unable to do that. So I did take some time off from that as well. The coping during the treatment, I have to say, the initial shock and the setback that I felt earlier on, obviously I knew that I had to face this, and that since the doctor had said it was first stage cancer, I knew that I would be able to, I could see light at the end of the tunnel and it would be over and done with soon. So with that positive outlook, that helped me a lot. I knew that, okay, I'm going to get well. This is only the first stage and I should be fine. Another important trick that actually worked really well, and that's thanks to my father, was visualization. He introduced me to that and he said, just close your eyes, because I was so scared about chemo. And he said, close your eyes and think of where you want to be. Think of something nice. Think of where you see yourself a year down the road. And when I did that, I saw myself obviously free, breathing in good air, free of cancer, and just healthy and, thriving. And that is what that visualization really helped me cope with the cancer, because it became something that I wanted to get to sooner or later. Another thing that helped, other than the positive outlook and the visualization, was of course my children. They were very little, but they were tremendous support. They treated me like I was, just had a cough or a cold. They didn't give it that much importance. And that's what kept me very grounded and kept my, that routine and stability gave me purpose. And I stopped thinking and pondering about my illness and the after effects or what I was going through. It just changed my perspective completely. So not thinking of the future and just being present in the moment, taking one day at a time, one goal at a time, in the sense, I've got through it today. I know it's going to be better tomorrow and even better the day after. And those short goals really helped me getting through the chemo. Post the chemo, which was, like I said, 4 months, a couple of months, 4 rounds of chemo, my first goal was to get back to my original self. Now, I've always been quite active, even before I got before I was detected with cancer. I was always physically very active. And so when the chemo got over and I was able to get back to some routine, some normal life, I wanted, even though I had lost a lot of energy from the treatment, it was very debilitating. The chemo can really suck your energy out completely. But I started slowly running on the treadmill, and my doctor encouraged it. He said, absolutely, if you can do it, you're the best person who knows what your body can handle. So I started getting onto the treadmill, and the 5 minutes of walking became 5 minutes of running, and then 5, 10, 15. And I started seeing and noticing how my body was getting stronger and better with the food I was eating, plus with the exercise that I was doing. So that was a tremendous help, the working out, during and after the chemotherapy. I also went back to school. I went back to teach. And as you can imagine, I was teaching 15 and 16-year-old girls. And I was afraid that what they think about me with, going to school with a bald head. I said, these girls are going to be, wondering what's going on. And my husband said, why don't you just crack a joke, make fun of it, and it will just pass. And that's exactly what I did. I went in front of the class and made fun of my head, and and the girls all laughed, and that was it. We just kind of moved on like nothing had happened. And it was so smooth. I had bought all these wigs and hats, but I never wore them, just because how the weather in Pune is in any case. So I just couldn't bear to have anything, any kind of headgear. And so I just went with the ball look, and I enjoyed it thoroughly. As when I finished with when I finished, like I said, when I finished with my, getting back to school and the new goals, I decided, all along people would say to me, or people would introduce me to others by saying, oh, this is Zia, who's gone through breast cancer. And, somehow something as big as that, when you're facing death so close, and when there's something that monumental that you face, you suddenly lose your identity, and that becomes your identity, right? You start basically identifying yourself with that. So I became the girl, who had the cancer, or the teacher who had the cancer. And I didn't want that label. I wanted to be someone other than just a survivor. And so I decided, since I'd already started running on the treadmill, and I was enjoying that a lot, I said, just on a whim, I decided that I would run a marathon. That would be, I said that would mark a great way to mark my victory over cancer, and I'm going to run a marathon. Obviously, I had these mixed reactions from various people to say, are you sure? I said, yeah, I have a year to train, and that is what I'm going to do. And then my focus from my illness and what I went through just shifted onto, fitness, being, top of the game. I never wanted to feel as weak as I had felt during the treatment, and running gave me that kind of confidence, that, being on the roads, just feeling that powerful. And, I think most of y'all, know people who run, know how great you feel when you're running. And so it just led me to to train for my marathon. And that's when I decided that I wanted to do the Mumbai Marathon, the January one in 2013. So I started training. I joined a running group for the first time and met these amazing people. There were these group of people of all ages, and men and women, young and old. And we somehow bonded so well because we all had that one passion. We all came from different backgrounds, but we all had that similar passion. Everybody was doing the marathon for the first time. That was what was amazing as well. So we all were in the same boat, waking up in the morning 3 or 4 times a week, and meeting for a run, and we became a really close-knit family. In fact, I must say I still run with the same people. So they became my crutch and my support group. And the training and the running group really helped me cope with what I had been through. Of course, this being my first marathon, I was not looking at timing. All I wanted to do was finish the marathon, whatever time that would be. I just knew that I wanted to run those 42 kilometers without stopping. And SCMM became that, goal for me. Sorry. There you go. So it was very, running SCMM, Mumbai Marathon was very emotional. It was extremely emotional experience, as you can imagine. It was, I remember running, and again, I used, even during the training and while I was running, that visualization technique really helped me a lot. I would always see the finish line. It was not something forced. It was just something that I wanted so bad that if I closed my eyes, I always saw the finish line in front of me. And I remember these thoughts so clearly, even though it was so many years ago, that when I was running and I was tired, and you can imagine on that pedal road, when on that steep incline, I was just like, I'm not going to walk. I'll jog very slowly. I may really slow down, but I'm not going to walk. I'm just going to go on till I see that finish line. And I still remember the elation I felt crossing the finish line, which is something all of you must have also experienced from your first time. While the Mumbai Marathon marked my victory over, the cancer, for the running became a part of my life. It became a new beginning for me. It was a new beginning for me, a new chapter in my life. and fitness and running and health became a priority for me. And I must say, even for a lot of friends got influenced by it. My husband started running. He would, in sometimes not long distances, but very often he would cycle along with me to support me when I ran. So I had tremendous support from the family. While I was, like I said, when I was doing the running as well, then a few of my running friends said, let's do a triathlon. So that became the next new goal for me. So that was my first triathlon. I know how to swim, but I was not a very good swimmer. So I got a coach who helped me with just getting my stroke better. And then I just practiced for like 6 months. I would do, at the swimming pool, I would do these nonstop laps because, and I signed up for the Hyderabad triathlon. I think that was in 2015. I'm not very clear about that, but and I did that Olympic size triathlon, which is around 1500 meters of swimming, followed by 40 kilometers of cycling, and then 10 kilometers of running. But I enjoyed it thoroughly. It is something that, all three put together, the training was a lot of fun, shifting from one sport to the other. And it was very challenging, but I was up for the challenge and I enjoyed it immensely. Then as life, you never know what's up next, right? You feel like you've beaten it, it's over, that part of your life, that chapter is shut. And then boom, in 2017, I had another surprise, and which was 7 years later, and the tragedy hit again. And I found another lump in my breast and was unfortunately told the bad news that the cancer was back. My doctor said that, this time, since it's back, it's rare. It does happen to people, of course. And then he laid out the treatment that it would involve. And that was pretty intense. It was, 16 rounds of chemo, surgery, of course, first, and then followed by radiation. The drugs would be much, more stronger drugs and a lengthier treatment. I was devastated. I just felt like my life had come to a standstill. There was again another full stop at everything that I had, worked for, kept myself very healthy, but this had happened again. And it took me much longer, I must, confess, than the last time to get over the fear of having to face it again. Because I knew what I'd gone through, but I never thought that I would have to go through it all over again. I was devastated. For almost a month, I barely slept. I was angry. I was fearful. I was, just that uncertainty and that sadness just kind of, took over my life. And I just stayed up nights, and it was almost a month. I would talk to family and everyone would encourage me, but there's that much that others can do for you until, you have to decide, right? When is enough and what you want to do next. So that point had not come, and that 1 month it was very disheartening for me. I just felt like my life had ended, and I didn't know how I was going to cope with another onslaught of the cancer. However, I knew the only thing that was in my control, the two things that were in my control, was my attitude and the response, right? That's the only thing I could control. I couldn't control the cancer. I wanted it out of my body. I wanted to get well. But how I'm going to get through this, there was no point in crying. There was no point in wallowing in grief and pity. I just had to face it and move on with my life. And, that just became something that I stood by, and I just changed my attitude. And I said, okay, I'm going to be strong about it. I'm going to be courageous, and I'm going to fight this with everything that I have. So I chose positivity, okay? And that was a personal choice. There was nothing anybody else could say or do to make me change that attitude. It's a matter of perspective. And that's the one, I just wanted to choose that. And I surrounded myself with positive people. So if anybody was complaining about things or, the negative people, I just stayed away from them. So my friends were a great support. My family was amazing. They just said that, hey, you've done it before, you've run a marathon and many marathons after that. you have that in you and you'll be able to get through this as well. So I surrounded myself with positive people. I chose to respond to every day with courage and a smile. I got out of bed and said, okay, this is it. I'm going to smile. I'm going to, if you make up your mind and say, I'm going to be a certain way, it just, things do, kind of fall into place. I wanted to also show my children that, you don't have to, how to face adversity. Of course, they had seen it before, but they were very young. Now they were, they were teenagers and they knew what cancer was. They had read about it. They knew, having had seen it through, seen other people go through it as well. And so they knew, so I wanted to be strong for them. I wanted them to see that, hey, you can have a situation like this, but you have to be very brave and face it. And that you yourself are responsible for your health and happiness. Of course, the cancer is not something that I brought upon myself. It happened, but how I choose to deal with it is in my hands. Again, the coping techniques that I used and visualization helped me tremendously. I mean, it helped me before, and it just comes naturally to me. When I want something, I want to change something, and if I think of something positively, I feel like I can make it happen. And I remember going for my chemo. I had 16 rounds of chemo, so I had them pretty, close together, one after the other. And every time I went and they would, put in the needle and start the chemo, I would think of good things. I would think of, okay, the medicine is making me well. This is going to clear my cancer. I'm going to get well. I'm going to get well. I would just keep telling myself, give myself this talk while the treatment was on. During this time, also, I continued running. I mean, my love for running is, just something that I don't know. I don't think I'll ever stop. And during the chemo, because it was such a long drawn chemo, I had asked my doctor, can I run? And he said, yes, not maybe a 42, but yeah, I think you could do a half marathon. Of course, that never happened. I could not manage a half and I didn't want to try, but I did do 7, 8, and sometimes 10 kilometers the days I could. But that was, usually on the treadmill because I didn't want to get out on the roads that much. So at least 3 days a week, I went down to the gym and I did some weights and I did stretches and kept my fitness regime intact. Another thing that really worked for me is nutrition. And, I mean, that food, you are what you eat. So I did go to a nutritionist and got a good plan for myself. And that really helped. Food, eating the right thing at the right time gave me the energy to be able to take the chemo, to be able to run and keep my fitness levels, at a good level. And so food was a key part of my, getting better. Couple of other things that I tried this time around was yoga and, a lot of pranayam and a lot of stretches. And just the breathing that just kept me, gave me peace of mind, basically. It helped me a lot through through my treatment as well as post that. I've continued doing it. And I tried meditation. I haven't really succeeded in that too well, but I haven't given up on it. I think yoga is a great tool, and that really helped me through my cancer. Here you can see me on the treadmill. My husband took that. This was during my treatment. And then also in the early stages of my chemo, we went to, to a restaurant to have coffee. And, so I was out and about as far as possible, wanted to have a normal life as far as possible. And then to mark my another goal after the treatment the treatment finished in 2018. And I said, well, like I did the last time, I have to mark this one as well. I have to have a goal. I think goals are important. It works, at least it works very well for me. I mean, something that you want to achieve, something you want to look forward to in the future and gives you meaning. And I decided that, I remember saying this to my husband and he said, why don't you try skydiving? And of course I said, no, I think that's a bit far-fetched. Let me, stick to something that I already know. And so I signed up for, in 2018, I signed up for the 2019 California International Marathon. And I signed up with a great coach Ashnath from Bangalore, and he crafted an amazing plan for me. You know, he kept in mind, I mean, he looked at all my data, he got a doctor on board. You know, we talked about the do's and don'ts, what was possible, my food, keeping all that in mind. He made me an excellent plan, and I trained. I love training, by the way. That, you know, it's not only you know, it's the journey, right? And of course, the marathon is the topping of it all. But I do enjoy the training a lot. And so he gave me a really good training, and I ran in 2019. And I qualified. I qualified for Boston, and unfortunately, because of COVID-19, my race is, of course, postponed. It's on hold, but at least it's done. It's ticked. Now, when I run it, we'll have to see when that will be possible. But it's been an amazing journey for me. I mean, I truly feel that, you know, cancer has brought in a lot of good for me as well. And these are the lessons that I learned. Mental strength. Now, I have to tell you that I do very often tell this to my children that, you know, if mama can run a marathon, you can solve that math problem. Like, nothing is impossible. I mean, you have to have the mental strength. You make up your mind, you make it up positively, you want something badly, work for it hard, of course. Nothing is going to fall in your lap, and you will be able to achieve it. So that was one of them. Another thing is your perspective, you know, how you want to respond to adversities and challenges. You can cow down, you can, you know, cry, you can, but that's not going to get you anywhere. You have to make the best of what you have and face it. Relationships, that's another big learning for me is, you know, I mean, I don't need to have 100 friends. I have a few friends, very close friends, my family and my parents, and, you know, they've been amazing support for me, and I realize the value of that, and I want to continue to nurture that. So those, you know, it's not the big stuff. It is these small things that we take for granted that are extremely important. Another one was living in the moment. You know, sure enough, if you've got cancer, you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. You just know you're living right now. You might as well make the most of today and the moment. And so instead of worrying about the past or worrying about the future, you've got to make the most of what you have in front of you at that moment. And holistic wellness, like I mentioned, it has been, that has helped me, and I continue to use it even now. You know, I've been running, and you know, till date I've run around 8 marathons. I've done Berlin and New York and California. So those were my 3 international ones. Hopefully someday I'll do Boston as well. But I enjoy running. It doesn't have to be some major marathon. I like running in Pune. I have a really good set of friends that I run with. So, you know, all of that with food, nutrition, sleep. Sleep is important. I don't, you know, I wake up really early. I'm sure most runners, most of you all do as well. So I make sure that I eat dinner early, I sleep early, and I keep to that. So I like some kind of a schedule, and that works really well for me. So sleep is a very good one. And then, of course, yoga and time for myself. So I do carve out time for whether I read a book, or whether I'm meeting friends, or whether I'm just, you know, being with my children. You know, it may not seem important, or it may not, but it is. I mean, finding time for yourself. Otherwise, you can get sucked into, things, daily life. So those are things that have really helped. Those are the lessons I've learned through this 10-year journey of mine. So I want to end with by saying that every adversity can help you discover your own potential, right? I mean, I didn't even know I had these qualities in me. Facing cancer led me to training for and running multiple marathons, through which I discovered that, hey, I'm capable of something, you know, like this. I mean, I have the strength and the determination and the focus. I didn't know I had these qualities, and it really, this came out in the fore. And so I've learned a lot about myself. So I hope that all of you can find your full potential without having to face adversity or challenge the way I did, you know. So we all have it in us, and we just have to tap into that. And here are some more pictures of me. I have very few. That's one in Berlin, and then some trophies that I've won, and of course in California. Thank you.
Yeah, Zia, wow, what a wonderful, wonderful experience. So thank you very much, Zia, for sharing your experience. We are really, really inspired.
Thank
Yeah.
you so much for having me here. Thank you.
Yeah, so we have learned definitely there are some things which all of us have to take home from your experiences, definitely, and put into our training and also the perspective in our lives. Okay. So let us start our interactions with our runners. So so you started by saying that you were afraid of chemotherapy, but not of surgery. So, okay, I am a chemo doctor. So you're afraid of me. Okay. Okay. I really like that word which you mentioned, like enjoying baldness.
Yes, yes, I loved it.
Yes,
Both times.
So this remembers me of one of my young patients like you, that she a Muslim girl, she painted mehendi on her scalp.
That's a great idea, like a tattoo.
She posed with that instead of a wig or a scarf, something like that.
Nice, nice.
Yeah. So Zia, excellent points that you have made out, and yes, there are questions coming up from our runners. Sundar has a question. Sundar would like to know from you that could you briefly explain the visualization process that help you tide over this situation to this stuff? What do you mean by visualization?
Okay, so it was a technique that my father taught me. He made me stand at the end of a room and made me walk in a straight line. He said, "Close your eyes," and he said, think of, okay, whatever you're scared of, let it be there. It's not like it can go away. It's there. You have to face it. But can you think of where you want to be? I mean, like over that hill, over that where you see yourself, and just walk in a straight line, thinking of those things. I saw myself in a mountain, very honestly, with a clear blue sky, beautiful scenery in front of me, a beautiful landscape. And so I opened my eyes and I told my dad, that is what I see. And he said, you're going to be there. You're going to be there one day. And that is what, so that's how that whole visualization started. And I remember when I used to train for my first marathon, if I was on the bike doing, that part of it, or if I was running, and if I'd get tired and I'm like, no, this is where I want to be. I want to be at that finish line. That is where my goal is. And somehow I would just get the courage or the energy to keep going. It was like, I don't know. It was just, it just works. It works fabulously. You've got to try it.
Yeah, fantastic, Zia. Yeah, thank you so much for that. So there is another question, comment from Pradeep. Pradeep is really impressed. Wow, what an amazing journey, Zia. Yes. So he has a question. Has your running helped you in your fight against cancer, or is it the fight that made you a great runner?
Wow. It's like a chicken and egg situation.
Yeah.
I think it was the cancer that got me into running. I don't know, maybe I would have started the running, but I've always, in school, I used to run, but never long distances. Long distances was, I knew people did it. But when I started running on the treadmill and it started getting better and better, and that, 10 minutes went to 20 and 20 went to 1 hour, that's when I realized that, hey, this is somebody had mentioned marathon, and I said, what better way? I enjoy it. I'm good at it. Why not take this off the treadmill, get onto the road and try it out, So when I joined that group, I thought I would do a 21K. I mean, okay, that is possible, right? Your first time. But that group that I joined, everybody was first timers and everybody said, okay, we are doing 42. So, with that group, with that flow, I said, fine, if they can do it, so can I. And sure enough, I just joined and signed up. So there was no looking back. Once you sign up, pay your money, that's it. It is, you've got to then work towards it. So that's what happened for me. So yes, I think it was the cancer that took me into running. And then, I mean, now running is, definitely my life. I mean, that's my passion. Absolutely.
So as you said, you have rediscovered yourself, the
Yes.
hidden you.
Yes, that's absolutely. Yeah.
So there is one more question. So when you underwent chemotherapy, did you ever think that the medicines would make you unfit for running, or would you ever discuss with your doctor that yes, this medicine could this be bad for me and stuff like that?
Yeah, I've done, like I said, like most people do, right? We all Google all
Yeah.
kinds of information and things like that. So I had done that the first time as well to see the side effects, and that's why I was so scared. And the second time I was afraid because I knew what I had been through the first time, right? So it was a little bit of that as well. But I had spoken to my doctor, and he had said, listen, there are people who do chemo and go to work. I mean, they finish their chemo, and then the next, in the next hour or something, they go back to work. So it is possible. So in fact, even when I was teaching, I thought that, during my chemo, I had not taken any time off. I just said, I'll take that day off and I will go back to work the next day. But it so happened that I was laid up for 2-3 days in bed, and then, missing so much. So I took some time off from there. So my doctor, exactly, I have a doctor in Pune, and he's also sponsored some runs and done for breast cancer. And I've been the mascot for that for a number of years, actually. And so he was totally for it. He says, if you can do it, you see what you can manage. Of course, it's going to take a while to get back to your original self, the way your heart will, whatever. I mean, it does have obviously adverse effects to the way, you'll be able to perform. But I proved him wrong. I mean, I did. He was amazed that I could even swim. Because he had, because of one of my surgeries, in my second one, they had taken out, they had done a surgery where they took the flap, that LD flap, where they took the skin out from the back and brought it in the front. So I don't have a muscle in my back here. So he said, you may not be able to swim competitively, but I proved him wrong. I swam that Hyderabad, the triathlon, and let me tell you, I don't know, I stood somewhere in the first 3 or 5 women who won that, whatever. My timing was that good. So he's quite amazed and very pleased. So he keeps telling me that.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. After LD flap, you could swim at triathlon. Triathlon is where some of us would like to get in. So we are still not yet there. Yeah, yes, yeah, fantastic. Yeah. And one more thing is concerned is that, so when you were coping up with all these things, and then afterwards, when you signed up for possible Boston qualifier.
Yeah.
So what is the particular thing, diet and any immunity booster or something like that you took special care of?
My nutritionist, that during my chemo, I followed a very, like I had a lot of things that were like moringa powder, like chia seeds, like beetroot juice, a lot of course, hydration, and a lot of drinking of a lot of water and keeping myself hydrated. So I did, and he had turned me, I mean, for those 3 months during my chemo, I was a vegan. So I did not eat meat, and that was because of the chemo and, because of the cancer and things like that. He had told, the nutritionist had put me off that. But once I finished, I did go back slowly to my original diet. But I do, so I eat very healthy. So I don't eat fried food, and I'm not, so before a marathon for a week, I will eat a little more carbs. I'll eat at my times. I mean, I don't eat at 10 in the night. I eat by 6:37 dinner, even today, even though I'm not running a marathon. I eat by 7 o'clock. After 7, I do not eat at all. Right. So I had a lot of those kind of, like the moringa, I continued throughout. Even now I drink a lot of moringa tea, which is very, very bitter. But a lot of Ayurvedic kind of, ashwagandha and neem and things like that the doctor had prescribed to make into a powder and put into a protein shake or whatever you want. So things like that. So I did that. I went completely off sugar, and I don't eat much sugar. I mean, very rarely I'll eat sugar. So sugar, in any case, I mean, not only for cancer patients, but for most people, it's not great. So I abstained from sugar for those year while I was in my doing my chemo and my treatment. And then post that, even now, it's been 2 years since the treatment, I don't eat much sugar at all. Even my milk consumption is very low. Like I don't eat, maybe some dahi, but I don't drink milk and I don't eat food with a lot of lactose in it. So those are things that I have kind of, and then I eat a lot of grain. So our Indian food, Indian cooking is the best, as you know. I mean, eating your jawar and your bajra and, eating your dals and lentils. And so I make sure that I have a very well balanced diet.
Excellent, excellent.
Yeah.
So many things to learn also from nutrition and
Yes, absolutely.
keeping yourself hydrated. Yeah, so absolutely. And then following the training plan.
Yeah.
The strength training.
Absolutely. So I did a lot of strength, and I still do, of course. A couple of days a week, I'll do strength and core. Then when the swimming before COVID, of course, I used to swim twice a week, so I did a lot of exercises, even though I was not doing a triathlon, but it was part of because I enjoyed it and it just gave you a low impact, very good training. So I did a lot of running in the pool. Unfortunately for the past 6 months, that's not been available. So I really miss it. But I do cycle even today. I have a bike and I do cycle quite a bit. So I mix it. So I don't do only run. I do the gym stuff. Then I'll do the cycling as well. I'll do a stair workout, so I kind of mix it up for sure.
So one question as a oncologist is that, do you think there is any side effect of any drug which has slowed your running or something?
No, I don't. I think maybe my VO2, I think maybe, I don't know. I mean, I can't say, but I think I've lost some of my energy, I feel like I just, as much as I train, it takes me a lot more now to get to where I was maybe a few years ago. And that could be possibly because of my age as well. But I'm sure it is some of the side effects of the chemo that has slowed down, maybe the amount of blood my heart is pumping. I don't know. I have not looked into it that much. But I don't know. You should tell me. I don't know.
No, there's nothing. Things would have recovered, and yes.
And then I can't say.
Excellent. Yeah. There is a question from Ravi. Yeah. So how did you avoid negative comments by friends or relatives?
I avoided them. There were people who would call me up on the phone and talk to me like I was already dead. They like, "Arey, ye kya ho gaya?" Like, "I'm so sorry." But I would be laughing on the other end because I'm well and alive. And people, I think people find it awkward, right? You don't know what to say to somebody who's going through cancer. What are the words that would comfort them? So I would obviously joke about it and put them at ease. And people who, I avoided those calls. The people who are, putting these thoughts, abhi kya hoga, what is going to happen, what will happen to your children, that happens with older people, not my parents, but, sometimes with some other relatives. And me or my husband would tell them, please, that is not, please don't talk about those things at all. So we would tell them very frankly.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So Zia, I have one thing. That see, many passionate runners, many of us actually was listening this webinar. So sometime or the other, they would have had some injury or some sort of thing, and they are forced to take a break. So when they take a break, I have noticed many of my friends in my running peers and all, they go into very sorrow state of mind. They become very depressed. Strava, then Strava, these people is running, I am not running. Then they'll look at a selfie and say, I could not run, and this sort of thing. So what is the advice you give to such kind of situations?
Yes. Self-pity, my God, no. I'm completely against it. That is one thing, other than the cancer also, I've not even mentioned that in my presentation today, but I had a lot of surgeries in between, because of, I had to, whatever, there were a couple of other surgeries, which of course, then there was a break from my running, a break from my fitness regime. So it was almost like this snakes and ladder game, I would reach on the top, I would get bitten and all the way down again. And it's happened to me a number of times in the last, in my running career. It has, not only the cancer, but even, some leg injury, some ankle, Achilles tendon. These things are so common with runners. So these things keep happening. But I have, I don't let that down. First of all, I do not ever compare myself to anybody else. I just don't. I will look at my timing from a week ago or 2 weeks ago and say, okay, this is where I am. I want to get better. Even if I'm 1 or 2 seconds better than that, I feel happy about it. So there is no room for, so that's one thing. I don't look at other people's. And of course, I'm there to acknowledge and, kind of give them the due for having run well. But I don't compare. I'm a different person. I've gone through different things in my life. So there is no comparison there. And to answer your question about adversities, even small injuries or whatever, that shouldn't get you down. Yeah, that should be okay. Chalo, where are we running? We are not trying for the Olympics, right? This is something you're doing for yourself, right? Only for yourself, to keep fit, to do well. Then if you have an injury, take rest, put it, take some time off, but again, start back. In fact, it's very exciting to me, sometimes when I'm all the way down again and to start all over again. And then to see, it is so amazing to see your body, kind of respond to the training and get fitter and fitter, every time you're down with some injury. So I've actually enjoyed each of those setbacks.
Thank you so much. That's an excellent explanation. So there is a question from Rakesh, one of our runners. So you are a great teacher, ma'am. I'm a teacher too. So what would be the lessons apart from academics that you would want your children to be taught in schools?
Oh, yes. I think, this, I keep, like I said, I think in my presentation as well to my children, and that one is really one that has stayed with me, is that, if you make up your mind on wanting to do something, it could be, things are difficult, of course, not everybody is brilliant and not everybody can solve everything, right? And our children they have their own set of problems and challenges, whether it is friends or whether it is their relationships in school with their peers or their studies. And I always tell them that you have to be confident and courageous, right? To face whatever it is. It doesn't have to be something as big as cancer or whatever. Small things will keep happening. Nobody's life is perfect. But focus on the, change your perspective. Yeah. Don't feel like this is it and this is the end of it and I can't, because somebody has told me I'm not good in maths, I'm never going to be good in maths. Absolutely not. So I keep telling my children that, I'm like, okay, there may be some setbacks, but if you keep working at it, hard work pays off. There is nothing that comes free. Nothing. Nothing will come without hard work. So your hard work will pay off. And if you are focused and determined to achieve something, you're going to get it. There is no two ways. And I've proved it. Yeah, I know it. I know how I've run and struggled. It's not been easy. I know most of you all have run marathons. It's not easy at all. But if you make up your mind and you train hard and you go for that goal, it can be achieved. And I think these are life lessons. Of course, we have experienced it, so we have learned this. But how do we pass it on to our children? I think they'll see by example.
Yeah.
They'll see how we are facing it, and hopefully that will rub off and it'll pay off, and they will do the same.
Yeah. Perfect. Yeah. So as said, a bad teacher complains, a good teacher explains, and you are the best teacher because you inspire them. Yeah. So there's a question from Nagesh. So were there any exercises that you were asked to avoid in the second time around?
No, I think just for the initial part, because of not once I recovered, absolutely not. In fact, he wanted me to stretch my arm and my back muscles so that, it stretches and doesn't contract. No, there were no restrictions at all. I had no restrictions. No exercises, nothing.
There is a compliment from Shibani. Says, Zia, you're a true rock star.
Oh, thank you.
Your journey is indeed inspirational.
Thank you.
So, Shibani says that. And question from Neha, are you still on any medication?
Yes. I will have to be, I'm on hormonal therapy. And that's a cancer medicine because of the kind of cancer, breast cancer I have. And so I will have to, for the rest of my life, until some new treatment or some new invention comes about. Till then, I am on hormonal. It's a tablet that I have to take every single day. Yeah. So I do take that. And then I take a lot of vitamins and calcium and, different vitamins, other than, of course, eating well. But I do take a lot of supplements as well. Yes.
So it was 5 years before, now it's 10 years. That pill is going to get extended. Yeah, very, very nice. Very nice. Yeah.
Yeah, my life has changed, right? I mean, my whole lifestyle has changed completely. And so for my husband and for my, a lot of my friends have started running because of me. So, it has made a difference to everybody, a lot of people around me.
So a funny question.
Yeah.
So do people like near or dear, far or near, did they ever call you crazy or mad? This girl runs. Yes.
Yes. My
Yeah.
husband, no, he's my biggest supporter, but very often he teases me to say, if you're driving to Mumbai, so he says, you start, I'll pick you up in Lonavala or something. So initially, yes, why are you doing this? But no, they've been amazing. I mean, we've been on holidays because I wouldn't want to plan a holiday before a marathon because, it'll come between my training. So my husband would promise that he will, wherever we are, he'll either follow me in the car or on a bike, and to make sure that my training does not come to a standstill at all. So our life is, especially before a marathon, not all the time, but we make sure, and he's also a lot into fitness, so it helps, both of us do this together, and he really supports me. But yes, from my parents, again, great supporters. But there are people, yes, are you crazy? And I'm like, they can say what they want.
I'm like this.
Yeah.
I'm like this. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you, Zia, very much. And one final, if you want to, if I want you to summarize the whole thing in one final sentence or one final advice to everyone around the globe.
That is what I said, is that, I found my potential through cancer, which is unfortunate, right? I mean, I had to face an adversity, and usually that is what happens, is when we learn our lessons through that. But I hope through my story and my journey that people realize that, you don't need to face a hardship to really reach somewhere or get to where you want to be. You can just, be very positive, make up your mind, and the world is at your feet.
Fantastic. One last question from Samjit.
Yeah.
Samjit wants to know, do your kids run? Do they join for running?
Yes, both my girls, and now they're 17 and 12, they are very lazy. So they will not get up in the mornings to run. But on sports day, they win the maximum medals in sports day. And you can imagine me on the stand shouting and screaming because it is just so important to me. So they both luckily are very athletic, and unfortunately they do not train. Hopefully one day they will. But they are both very good runners. Yes.
Fantastic, Zia. Very nice to learn. So when mothers run, the children run. When fathers run, they don't. Could it be that way? I don't know. So yeah, thank you, Zia. Thank you for everything. Thank you for a wonderful presentation. And what at least I could gather are two important things which you told about the visualization, which your father has told you and you told us. We will carry the visualization forward. You showed it in a very excellent way. And then the attitude is what the positivity, keeping positivity around. I think it is going to be the take-home message from. So I would like to end here, and I would like to hand over to my co-runner and fellow runner and a mentor, Mr. Jayasurya, for a formal vote of thanks.
Thank you, Krishna, for facilitating today's webinar. I have a couple of takeaways from the amazing things I heard today. Some of us have gone a little slow in fitness during this pandemic, but whatever may be the hurdle, with the right mindset and attitude, we can always bounce back. I think that's a very, very important lesson. Then never underestimate the power of visualization during an adversity or a run maybe. That will motivate us to have determination to dream bigger and cope up with any situation. And in some cases, maybe you can discover some new things as well. Thank you, Zia, for this valuable input. Our deepest gratitude for taking the time out and sharing your experiences and learning with us today. And to our audience, thank you for spending the time with us today. And we really, really, really miss you all. The recording of this event will be available on our Hyderabad Runners Facebook, as well as the Airtel Hyderabad Marathon YouTube page. Please come back to watch again and share it on your social media profiles and to others who can benefit out of this. We will be back next Saturday at the same time with yet another expert and yet another interesting topic for you. Until then, this is Jayasurya from Hyderabad Runners signing off. Stay safe, stay healthy. Bye.